You're listening to the IB4E Coaching Podcast.
Brought to you by IB4E Coaching, business coaching for executives, entrepreneurs, and small business professionals. Learn more at ib4e-coaching.com.
Hey, Coach Harlan here. Welcome back to the podcast. Hope you guys are having an exceptional week. I'm having a great week, and I'm excited to introduce you to my guest today. Please help me welcome Chris Jones. Chris Jones is an entrepreneur, best-selling author, and one of North America's most dynamic EOS implementers. Chris has founded 3 successful companies, including a sporting goods brand that became Canada's #1 in its category. After scaling that business 7x using EOS and cutting his time to just 3 hours a month, he sold the business and now devotes his energy to helping leadership teams achieve the same freedom and growth. With over 600 EOS sessions and more than 75 implementations under his belt, Chris brings relentless energy, hard-won wisdom, and a no-fluff approach to every room he walks into. And he is currently walking into ours. Chris, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Love the book. I'm highly recommend this book. Just the story, like I said, of your resilience, how you came back, and then your thoughts. And you use a lot of analogies, football analogies, to talk about how you get through and stuff like that. One thing I noticed you talk about: great leadership starts with knowing who you are. Now, having worked with humans, a lot of people have either they don't know what their strengths are, they don't know what their weaknesses are, or won't admit to them. How do you help somebody identify their strengths and weaknesses?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that how do I help someone identify strengths and weaknesses? I think my role in working with people is to help them grow, right? Like become the best version of themselves, if you will. And I think that, Dan Sullivan nailed it when he said all progress starts with the truth. And I think that there's an element of candor that I bring to a conversation that's always coming from a good place. Like I'm telling you this because I want to see you do your best, become your best. And so can I share with you what I see? And so I think there's a lot of heart and compassion combined with that directness that, I think we can fool ourselves and tell ourselves stories, which I can speak from experience. Like, hey, well, I need to do this. Or I am good at this and maybe I'm not. Or, I do like this when the reality is maybe I don't. And so I think it's sometimes we can see it ourselves and people are self-aware, and that takes a lot of work and vulnerability to go to that level of depth. And some people don't see it in themselves. Yeah, I know I've had lots of blind spots in my lifetime, and it's been those hard conversations where someone shared with me that's made a big impact. So I try to do the same for leaders. Like, hey, I'm seeing this right now. Can I share my reflection? My observation.
I love that. Can I share? Yeah. Because like you said, you're not attacking them. It's like, I have your best interest at heart. I want to make you better. Do you mind if I share this? Do you mind if I talk to you about something I've observed? I like that.
I've been guilty of uninvited coaching lots in my lifetime. And so I suppose when I'm paid to be at the front of the room and teach and coach and facilitate, I ask for permission a little bit less. But still, even then, if I'm going to go to someplace hard, I often ask for permission. Are you okay to go here right now? And sometimes they're not. Right. And I respect that and say, okay, we'll come back to that another day if you wish. The invitation is there.
Nice. Love that. Love that. All right. I want to dive into this deeper, dive into your book, Resilience AF, or no. Yes.
Relentless
AF. Relentless. Absolutely. All right. I want to dive into that. I want to dive into how you got involved with EOS, what it means to you, and how you've helped companies, some of the success stories you've had, and probably a lot more. But before we get started, I've got 10 questions that I like to ask each one of my guests. Listeners know these are the questions made famous on the TV show Inside the Actor's Studio, where the host James Lipton asks these same questions of his Hollywood guests from TV, film, and stage. And I figure if they're good enough for the Hollywood elite, they're certainly good enough for my guests. So, Chris, if you're ready, I've got 10 questions for you.
Fire away.
All right. Question one. What is your favorite word?
I think relentless. We spilled the beans on that one. Yeah.
Good job. What is your least favorite word?
Victim.
Mm. All right. What turns you on?
Oh, like passionate debate, enthusiasm. Like I love that. Like, let's just roll up the sleeves and let's really go there.
Nice. What turns you off?
Politics, politicking, right? Like people that are manipulating situations for some obscure unknown reason and not being truthful and transparent.
Or just because they get joy out of doing it? It seems like a lot of times they just manipulate the situation just for fun.
Yeah, just torturing other people for the hell of it. I'm like, yeah, that's you want to unfriend me, go about those kind of things. And
there you go. Perfect. All right. What sound or noise do you love?
sound or noise? You know what I love is the sound of running on a gravel road.
Very cool. All right. What sound or noise do you hate?
um, I think screeching for when not in pain. Just for the
Yep.
upset because you're not getting what you want. And yeah,
Exactly.
anyways.
Yep. All right. Question 7. What is your favorite curse word?
Dumb fuckery. Yeah.
Like it. There you go. All right. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Would I like to attempt? Rock singer.
Cool. All right. What profession would you not like to do?
I think a caregiver, like a nurse. My wife's a nurse. I love her to pieces. I couldn't do her job.
Yeah. They are strong. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, that's not my specialty.
Nope. All right. Chris, final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
It would be something humorous. And you thought you got some of it right.
There you go. Yeah, for me, I think it would be, I think you're looking for that line over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Chris, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, I want to talk about your book, Relentless AF. I want to talk about your work with EOS, how it helped you and your businesses, and how you're now helping other people. And at some point, transition into courage and leadership.
Sounds great.
All right, we'll talk about all that and more right after this. So, listeners, stick with us. And I'm back with my guest, Chris Jones. Chris, thanks again for taking time out to work with us. So, in your book, Relentless AF, you open with some pretty brutal business setbacks. In your view, what does it take for a leader to come back stronger after being knocked down?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the courage to lead. I think the courage to face failure. And the reality is there are failures, and how do we come to grips with those? And I think like kind of own the vulnerability to own, hey, this is the role I played and this is what I need to do. to move forward? That's a loaded question. There's my
failure's not
short
necessarily bad.
soundbite. There's so much
Yeah,
to it.
there you go. Yeah, because failure is not a bad thing if you learn from it,
Mm.
right? Because failure happens. That's the way you learn. That opens the doors to opportunities. But a lot of
Wonderful
people,
teacher. Yeah.
yeah, a lot of people will hit something, a brick wall of some kind, and just stop and turn
Yeah.
around and go the other direction. It's like, how do you get through that? How do you muscle your way through?
Yeah.
How do you help your clients do that?
Yeah. I'm strangely energized by crisis now at this point in my life. I'm like, it's like, this is a catastrophe. I'm like, is it? Are you sure? Like, what if it's the best thing that's ever happened? Like, can we, like, it all starts with mindset. And so, can we, um, can we get our mind into a place, is this happening to me or for me? Is something that I've been using a lot of late. Right? If it's happening to me, I'm the victim. Oh, woe is me. And, the world is terrible and there's not enough. And, if it's happening for me, it's like, yeah, why is this the best thing that's happened to me in my life? Or like, and how could I turn this into something incredible? What doors does this open that were closed previously or not being overlooked because we were too busy with other things? And so I think that when my leaders are in that moment of crisis, I help them, like, can we just recognize it? Like, what is it in this moment? What makes this hard, right? I think there's um, therapy, if you will, whatever. Like, it's therapeutic to just name the beast.
Yeah.
I'm pissed, right? Like, I'm
Yeah.
angry. I'm sad. Like, I feel betrayed, like, whatever that is.
Mhm.
And to kind of air out the situation of where are we right now.
Nice.
And then start to create some clarity of like, okay, well, that getting to neutral book comes to mind. Such a fantastic. Trevor Moad did some great work there. And just like, can we just shift to neutral, right? Like, we're not going to go from reverse if that's negative thinking into drive, which is positive thinking. Sometimes we can't go there right away. We got to like transition. So how do we get to neutral first?
Hmm.
And and some of that might be the airing of grievances, if you will. Um, can we get that out? Okay, great. Now where next? What's the next step? What's the one thing we can do next that is in our control and ultimately can this be amazing? Not everyone's ready to go there right away, so I got to be real careful with that one. Like, what's the gift in
Sure.
this? And they're like, excuse me, like, I'm really bad still. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay,
Well,
I've
I'm
been
not
there, I
past the
get it.
pain. I'm not past the hurt yet.
Yeah, I'm
You
not
know.
past that yet. So,
Yep.
but then it's like, okay, well, what are we going to do, right? Whether it be COVID or tariff situation or, you know, biggest customer leaves us or best employee leaves us. All these things hurt
Yeah.
and can have significant negative impacts on our business. It's like, okay, now what can we do, right? What's in our control that we can focus on? And so then I help the team kind of get that discussion on the table. What are the real issues at play here? And then create some clarity on what's next. And arm them with simple, practical tools that allow them to execute on what's next. Because if we just execute on what's next and then do that, and then, well, what's next after that, and then do that, and what's next after that, and do that, I get the phone calls like I did 45 minutes ago. Maybe one of the best feedback calls of my life. Like, the guy said, Chris, our company wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the work we did with you and EOS.
Wow.
And we definitely wouldn't got to the massive exit that we just made it to. So they went from like the company's going to literally crash and burn, implode on itself, not survive, to having an extraordinary exit that's life-changing for the leadership team members. And they just did their first annual on their own.
Mhm.
And he said it was the first time in an annual that health of the leaders wasn't on the issues list
Wow.
because they were literally destroying themselves with stress and overwork,
Yeah.
etc. And he's like, you know, you're making a big difference in the world. Thanks for doing that. I'm like, oh man.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So let's talk about EOS. You're a professional EOS implementer, and I know everything that goes into doing that. For those who don't know what that role involves, how does EOS um, help entrepreneurs lead more courageously and effectively in their business?
Well, that's a loaded question.
Thank you. I'm a
Let
professional.
Yeah, there you go, right? These are good questions. So let me try and be relatively concise here. I think it helps us, like it's like we lift a weight off the entrepreneur's shoulders. A lot of entrepreneurs, when I first meet them, they're carrying a really heavy backpack. I know it was certainly my story. I was carrying a lot, and I wanted to engage other people. I had smart people. These leaders have smart people, and they're like, but it all keeps coming back on them. Every decision, the planning, the strategy, where do we go from here, and what's like, and there's these talented people waiting in the wings, and they're under leveraged. Many of them are chomping at the bit, and others are quite, underperforming in a dramatic way and intentionally, not really engaged at all. Anyways, there's all sorts of problems that happen with this. So what is EOS? What do I help them through? It's like, how do we help leaders? Like, can we get clear on the vision, right? Where are we going? How are we going to get there? That's the first step. If we can create clarity on that and get alignment from the leaders, what that looks like, it creates a dramatic impact on the organization. It's like, well, what do we really want? That question might seem easy to answer. And I'm just seeing it show up more and more these days of like, what's the big goal? What do we really want? And it's hard to answer for many. Anyway, so can we get alignment on what do we want and then get clarity on that vision of how we're going to achieve that want? And then if we gain clarity of who's doing what with an excellent structure in the organization and we create role clarity for what is the structure that's going to get us there. That's a hard conversation. It's a bit of a mind screw to figure that all out. And, and then do we have the people in those seats to make that happen? And is that really you? Some people are doing things they shouldn't be doing for often very altruistic reasons. I'm just trying to help. Great, but should you be doing that? Well, no, it really shouldn't. In fact, we're becoming the bottleneck to growth when we're doing things like this as leaders. If we're not really good at it and want to do it, both are important. And so we create that structure and getting the right people into the right seats from Jim Collins, right? How do we define that and how do we do it?
Yep.
But that allows us, when we get stuff like that happening and we get great numbers and we get really good at solving our issues and tackling our opportunities, develop great processes top to bottom. But what happens is we start executing extraordinarily well, right? We call it traction. The reason the book Traction.
Right.
How do we execute? Discipline, accountability. Man, like I said, what's the next thing? Well, you just go do that. Just go do that. That's simple, not easy, right? And so, but when we build that muscle of execution on the most important things, you watch the leaders in the room almost every implementation. I got one leader in the room, arms folded, looking the other direction, leaning back. They're like, this is BS. I've seen this stuff. I've done this stuff. It doesn't work. This is a waste of time. I have stuff to do. Please, like, kill me now. Someone made me come.
Yep.
And we start teaching these tools. In the second session, they're like a little bit on the fence. So you start to see them lean in a little more. And usually by the third or the fourth session, they're like, hey, Chris, I got to be honest. I thought this was total BS. I'm like, shocking. Really? I'm surprised. And they're like, this is amazing. My team this is working better than anything I've ever seen. Like, people are helping that we didn't think could help before, and everyone's aligned and engaged. Or we, not everybody, but we have clarity on those that aren't. And we're just dealing with those issues. We're not sweeping them under the rug anymore.
Yeah.
And they're like,
It's amazing how when you put a spotlight on those issues and actually start working on those issues, they somehow miraculously work themselves out, right?
Some do
move past it. Yeah.
Some do. I mean, I had one issue on my issues list. The longest one I can remember, it was on there for 8 years.
Wow.
And it wasn't the right time to solve it, but we had clarity. We were transparent. Like, it was actually me in one of the seats in the integrator seat in this current business. It was over 7 years that was on that issues list, and Chris in the integrator seat was on the issues list. But it wasn't the right time to solve it. We knew it. I'm like, in the meantime, I'm the best person to do it. And I'm not going to be great at it, so we're going to do the best. So please help support me. And everyone's like, yep, you're right. You're not the best person. Is there anyone else? Nope. It's like, okay, well then we're just going to deal with the issue as best we can. And then one day it was a great victory lap to take it off the issues list, and we solved it. And I'm no longer in that seat. And it was a great time and great move for the business.
Awesome. So you talked about a couple of things, clarity and alignment. I know on big projects, I was a management consultant. You have your executive team, and they're not clear of exactly where we're headed. So of course, everybody starts doing their own thing. They're not aligned. They think I'm solving the same problem. That's not the same as alignment, right? We're all looking at the same problem, coming at it from our direction to try to fix it, but that's not really alignment. Alignment is agreeing and pulling together to get that fixed.
No, that's a powerful thing, getting alignment. As to just bolt on a little bit to make this point to what I already said, we get all that stuff working good. And the last piece that happens as a result of all that stuff working together is team health goes dramatically up. And we create rules of engagement for how do we operate as a functional, healthy team. And it brings people together in the battles that inevitably, the conversations, the hard conversations need to happen to gain clarity on vision and solve the difficult issues. Well, it builds team health. And before long, we start seeing those people really leaning in, and some of them realize this is not the company for me, and they find a way to exit, hopefully more gracefully than not, often gracefully. But the people that stay are now all in. And they're not all in. Sure, the purpose, the business is great, and that's always powerful. What's the big thing? What do we want out of this? And I'm excited to do that. But actually what I watch happen is it becomes as much about helping the team succeed as their own success. And they get so excited to like, yeah, but I want to see you do well, Harlan. And how do I help you? Like, all of us are going to win this together. And they just start, all that armor just drops to the ground. And they're just like, we're just in this together. Let's just go. And that's just, and that guy that I just got off the phone with, he's like, he was so, like, he was moved to tears of like how much it helped. The one lady who had massive anxiety issues couldn't get on an airplane to a session. So I had to go out there often, which I don't typically travel for client work. But she couldn't get on an airplane because her anxiety was so high, and she was smoking herself to death and had gained a ton of weight, just extraordinarily healthy. And then the update was she'd started exercising. She was eating right. I didn't hear whether she quit smoking. I'd be shocked at that one, but it was possible. Like, she's healthy. And I'm like, wow. And he was so excited to like share that with me that I was like, like that stuff is great. And that you get that team that cares about each other.
Yep.
He's like, Chris, business is fun again. Like, yeah,
That's
we're doing
awesome.
great things. We got this amazing exit and we've got an earn out but we're having a riot working together. And I'm like, this is the good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love that. EOS is it's magic. I've got all the books. Gino Wickman is awesome. Love the things he's created. I am not a certified implementer, but I work with my clients a lot on EOS. I get them the books. We read through the books. We start putting some of the pieces in place, and just the meetings, the way we structure the meetings and go through the meetings, and we've got our visionary, we've got it worked. And they
Mhm.
start finding a place for themselves and how to interact with each other. And I've got business owners now that are taking 2 weeks off and never calling in because things are
Yeah.
running just
Yeah.
and it's like it's magic. I just love it.
Well, I think any good tool can work, right? But can also do harm if not used well. So,
Yes.
it's about proper application of the tools.
Yep.
And there's a reason I obsess over it. It's been 10 and a half years now, and I just couldn't be more excited to figure out better
Good.
ways to do what I do.
But
And
you had great success with it in your business.
I
You
did.
grew 7x. That's amazing.
That was one of the things that was very valuable. Yeah. Growth, it enabled growth. Um, we were grinding away, growing 10% a year. And I was frustrated and full of anxiety and felt like I was failing my team and, struggled to sleep at night. And then, yeah, growing 300-400% a year. And it was easier, more peaceful. It just
Wow.
felt more intentional. And I felt like I was the leader that my company deserved. And I was giving them guidance where they needed it. And I was
Yep.
learning to let go appropriately. That was a journey.
Yeah.
But get out of the way and let them do their stuff because they were great
Yep.
people and they really cared.
Yep.
And so if I'd given them the right guidance and the right processes and the right tools, then it's like, what questions do you have? Do you need me? No. It's like, great,
Yeah.
I'll carry on. Like,
Yeah. Well, I think that's what leaders should do, right? Is remove the barriers that are keeping your people from being as successful as they can be. Because you hire them because they have the skills. Allow them to use those skills, right? Encourage them to use the skills and then help them remove those
yep,
barriers.
right. Well, each person's different, right?
Mhm.
Each person in each role, and sometimes they don't have the skills. So then how do we develop and support them? Other
Yeah.
times they have way better skills than we could ever have. Then it's just making sure that the clarity on where we're headed, like, okay, well, is what you're doing going to help us get there? Yeah, then great. Yeah, then get the heck out of the way. But I call it hippie leadership, right? Like I went from micromanagement, death grip management to like hippie leadership. Whatever, it's all good, man. Like figure it out. I trust you, but didn't give them any guidance, and that blew up too, right? Like so, there's that balance of giving the appropriate guidance and being the appropriate leader for the situation
Yeah.
and not being overbearing. So it's finding that balance.
Yep. And yeah, letting go is hard. Stepping back and let others lead. Why do you think so many entrepreneurs are challenged? They're used to wearing all the hats when they first start the business. Is
Yep.
is that what kind of creates that mindset that I have to maintain control, otherwise it'll all spin out?
Oh, let's get real. Most entrepreneurs need therapy. And so, and I'm being, a little facetious, but also very real. Like, there's a lot of entrepreneurs that never make that transition, and why lots of entrepreneurs get fired by the board once a board's in place. They can't get out of the way
Yeah.
and they need to over control things. And so, part of this is the gift. As an entrepreneur, we see a problem, we solve the problem, it creates value in the world. We have to figure it all out typically in smaller businesses, unless we have some money, which most entrepreneurs don't have money when they start. And so then we just have to grin and bear it, figure it out. and wear all the hats until we get enough that we can bring some people on. And so we operate in this, I don't know if it's a state of fear, but it can feel like that, of like, if I don't pay attention, something's going to go wrong and it's all going to disappear.
Yeah.
And then at some point, as the business starts to become successful, these narratives can continue to play in the background, even though they don't make sense anymore. I mean, I have an entrepreneur friend that I know, and he's like, I have this narrative telling me that I'm going to die poor, and I'm terrified of dying poor. And he says, I have enough money in my investments that I know I'm never going to die poor, but yet this narrative continues to play and it won't shut up. And so I appreciate his transparency and willing to share that, but a lot of people don't even know those narratives.
Yeah.
And so letting go, sure, it's fine to say, hire smart people and get out of the way, let go. And I've heard a lot of entrepreneurs say that, but the execution of that is another thing entirely.
Yeah, it's tough. I've got a couple clients that they're the owner of the business, so they think they should be the one, setting the vision and leading that from that angle.
Yeah.
But they don't want to let go of the hands-on. They're in their business. They started their business because they love what they do, and that's all they want to do is just get out there and be a practitioner.
Yeah.
Is it okay to have somebody else that's not the owner be in that seat as the visionary?
It's rare that happens. I guess the short answer is it depends. It's a bit of a dodge, but the reality is that's the truth of the matter.
Mhm.
Some businesses don't need a visionary. The business is simple, it's straightforward, there's a very clear path to success. They don't need someone with this massive Steve Jobs visionary, I'm going to change the world.
Yeah.
And others do. And so each business, they need people to handle things like that in the business. What are the ideas, the big relationships, all these fun things that we got to do? And so it's rare not to have the founder sit there in that seat until at some point the exit happens. Right? Do you know the percentage of people that exit their businesses? Take a guess.
No. 30%? I don't know.
It's 100. It's a trick question.
Okay, you're right. At some point or another, they exit. Yes, you're right. Yeah.
You're going to exit your business in some form or another, whether that's on a stretcher,
Yep.
whether you sell it, whether it shuts down. And if you sell it, is it a exit that you're happy with or unhappy with?
Right.
Anyways, so trick question. And so, but at some point, let's get real, you are going to exit your business. So then what? And so this is just an issue that we get to solve. And it's like, well, what is the next visionary look like? Who's going to take the company to the next phase of the journey?
Yeah.
So that's just it.
Mm.
And so, yes, the visionary typically brings clarity and ideas of what this looks like. And I brought that. I'm actually up to 6 companies now that I've started, because I've started a few of late. And I bring lots of that. But what I've also learned in that process as a visionary is I have ideas. It's my job to bring a bunch of them to the table, which I do. And have you ever been told where you're headed with no choice in the matter and no say?
Yeah, that's
Often doesn't
tough.
get as good of an engagement
Exactly.
as a conversation.
Exactly.
With
My background is organizational change management.
there you
And so
go.
you go into companies where the company says they'll do what I tell them or else. It's like you're going to lose your top people.
Good luck
You
with
don't.
that.
Yeah, good luck with that. And
Yeah.
that's tough.
Right. So now I see my role as, hey, I bring fun stuff to the table. And I'm okay if it doesn't all happen. And I'm actually okay too if the team says, I don't like that idea. In fact, my integrator, I rely on that of like, no, this is a bad idea, Chris. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're probably right. And so, can I get the idea out? Can we marinate in it and choose to go and chase and do the right things? And so I hold that and then, bring it to the team, and the team and like, this is let's go for that one. Like, great. My hand's on the tiller, but some of them are their ideas and they're not on mine, and I'm good with that too. That I find works way better than the ram it down your throat approach.
Exactly. Well, yeah, everybody gets buy-in because part of their idea was there, right? So
Yeah.
Your book, Relentless AF, where did that come from? What was the impetus for that? I know it's an amazing journey, but did that happen before you got involved with EOS or after your involvement?
Yeah. So I get, in a way, the book is kind of an evolution of what I do as a living, because like I'm just a voracious learner and developer, and so I'm always involved in some type of group or organization to make myself better and learn things and get a coach and a mentor and then share the stories. And I've always enjoyed sharing the stories, even when they're raw and vulnerable and like, I screwed this one up, and I'm willing to say that and share it. And I tell you that because I want you to learn from that and hopefully avoid some of the mistakes yourself. And so I'd go on these rants, if you will, with people and share these ideas. And the number of times I was told, Chris, like, you got to put this in a book. And just I got lots to give, and I'm happy to share it. And so it's like, well, a book is one way in which I can do that. And then the crisis in 2012, pivotal life moment for me, lost 70% of my business overnight. Like, it was just one conversation, and I was like, seriously, what the F? Like, I think my business might be dead kind of moment.
Wow.
Heart sank. And the guy's like, oh, this is going to be better for both of us in the long run. And I said, no, it's not. It's going to be better for you in the long run. It's not going to be better for me. And I was spending in the worst way. I was down in San Antonio. It was a dark moment. My wife was down with me on that trip. San Antonio's this beautiful city. Hey, we got to go together. Well, she ends with this enormous sinus cold. Like, heading down into San Antonio, she thought her head was going to explode. She was in so much pain. So she's back in the hotel sleeping it off. And I come back from the trade show going, yeah, like, we just lost 70% of the company. And she's like, oh my God. So yeah, we're like, what do we do? Do we shut it down? Do I go back to school? Do I like start another company? Do I keep this one and try and rebuild it? We ultimately decided to rebuild it, through the support of her. And then I had some key mentors that helped me. And then my EO forum group was huge as well. And within a week or two, I'd created clarity. I'm like, I want to rebuild it. I had a written plan B down. That's a whole nother story. But I had a written plan B that I'm like, my head was way up my butt. Like, what am I going to do? Well, I pull out the written plan B because I saw this train wreck coming. Luckily, my mentor made me write a plan down. So I pull out the written plan B, and 100 decisions had been made, and 97 of them were good. So that enabled me to only have to make 3 decisions instead of 100. That was in compromise. I can't see much with my head up my butt. So I made 3 decisions, and those, so we figured those out, and they weren't super hard, thankfully. And we decided to rebuild the company. I had to lay off a bunch of people, and that was terrible. But that even worked out okay. Like, they were so gracious in their exit. They're like, cared about me, and I cared about them, and it all worked out. So we decided to regrow the business, implement EOS in that time frame, use this set of tools, and the growth starts happening, and I mean fast. And it enabled me to like say no. In the previous period, I was that guy that wouldn't let go, and I was involved in all these $5,000 and $10,000 decisions in my business. And as I gain more clarity how we're going to regrow the business, I'm like, I cannot get caught in $5,000 decisions anymore. I have to solve $500,000 decisions, $1 million decisions. Those are the only decisions I want to be involved in. And so I'm just like, just deal with it. Right? You got it. Like, I trust you. Just go make it happen. This is your accountability. So just make the decisions. Bring anything to me that you think is insanely tough, that you're conflicted on, but otherwise I trust you, go, right? And so very few decisions came to my desk. And I focused on the big decisions and the big negotiations and the big deals. And guess what? It worked. And so that's how we started growing dramatically faster than we'd ever grown before. Like, we grew more in 1 year than we did in revenue previous to the crisis. And it was, like I said, it was peaceful and intentional. I'm like, that was fun. I'm like, great. And I was just like shaking my head like, what the heck? And a lot of it I credit to EOS because we had just all these things working together. And so I didn't have to worry about how to do all this stuff. I was focusing on the things that only I could do and delegating and letting go of the rest. And, that's the short version. And literally it was the most incredible gift, that crisis. It allowed me to let go of our biggest problem. It just happened to be our biggest source of revenue. And it allowed me and my team to redraw the rules the way that made way more sense for us. Because I just didn't care. I'm like, no, that smells like that other deal anymore. I'm out. They're like, well, maybe it's not that important to us. We could do it your way. I'm like, oh, okay, well then I'm listening. And so it was just that, like, the negotiation ability, just like, because I had so much clarity of what I didn't want.
Yeah.
And so
that's almost as important, if not more important.
Sometimes, right? And so it certainly was for me.
Yeah.
So I think the long story short is that experience and regrowing through that, and it did literally turn out to be better for both of us. I'd totally tell the guy now if I saw him. I'm like, you were right. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. And it gave me confidence and clarity of, this is the business I want to grow. And they weren't part of that. And that was okay. We had a 12-year run and it was great. And it was time to move on. And so all of that experience led me to the fact I need to read, to write a book, to tell people, like, it's okay. Crisis happens. It's okay. And not only is it okay, it could be the best thing that ever happens to you. And this is why, and this is how you can think about it. So as I'm writing the book and editing the book, COVID happens. Yeah, and like instantly lose 60% of my business. And I was like, I'll be fine. What's amazing about this? I applied the same principles I used the other time, and it worked again. Regrew the business again.
Nice.
I'm just like, oh, okay. So then I put in an extra chapter about that. I'm like, okay, I put it to work again. Like, here it is again. And so, that was ultimately that project took me about 3 years to put it out.
Oh.
And yeah, I'm proud of the work that I did there. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah. It's that mindset shift from, what's happening to me to what opportunities might come out of this? How can this be good? Because everything, I mean, there's two sides to everything, right? This could be the worst thing possible. This could be the best thing. You just never know. But that shift, that mindset shift is tough.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, as I got clarity, I've been a strategic coach member for 4 years. And, they talk about unique ability. What are you great at? What do you love to do? And I had to figure that out. And I tried a few things on and, like trying on a shirt. I'm like, this one didn't fit. So I changed it and evolved it and And eventually I landed on, I'm a relentless and fun mindset shifter who empowers growth. And I've worn that shirt for about 3 years now. And it really just captures what drives me and my gifts that I get to bring to the world, and it's doing that kind of work, and I just get energized by that kind of stuff. And people think I'm twisted, and I laugh. I'm like, I know, isn't it amazing? And so, I love, kind of helping people figure that own gift out for themselves, because sometimes we just can't read the label from inside the jar.
I like that. That is true. So, the podcast says courage to lead. So, what does courageous leadership mean to you? And especially after everything that you've been through, what does courageous leadership mean?
Courageous leadership. Yeah, I think it means making decisions when they're not easy. I think it's embracing, I think it's authenticity and realness, and I think it's serving others. Like, what's the best decision here, even if it's not good for me? And, I've had some great mentors that showed me that path, and I just always had such great respect for them. And I'm like, well, but I didn't always lead that way. And I'm like, well, how do I transition my style of leadership? And when I approach that, and people have called it out, they're like, Chris, there's just this element of servitude about any team that you sit on. And I'm like, thank you for the reflection. That's what I'm about. It's not about what's going to make me look good. It's like, how do we do what's right here? And the best thing, even if it's hard. And so it's saying that my idea is not the best. It takes courage to evolve, to say, I think the courage to tell people, I think you're really screwing this up. That takes courage to have that conversation.
Sure it does.
And I think if we do it in the right way, it can be a very positive thing. And I'm telling you this because you put a lot of your life energy into this, and it's not getting you or us where we want to go. Is this the right role for you? Is this your calling? And maybe it's not. And as much as that might hurt right now to hear that, I love asking the question, like, how's your life really going right now?
Yeah.
And they often paint a picture that's not very rosy. And I'm like, I see the same thing. Well, tell me about what gives you energy, and maybe we can help them create clarity on what is that ideal role for them. Because maybe it's not this one.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Exactly. That happens. They're in the wrong seat, or they're expecting, I really want to do this. They find out they don't really have the skills to do that. What's tough then is a lot of times the leader maybe put them in that role and doesn't have that confidence in themselves to say, well, maybe I was wrong here. Maybe this isn't the best. They sometimes leave them in the role and hire somebody else to kind of help them. It's like, well, now you have two people that, aren't as productive, or they're not performing at the level they should. So,
that's a serious Band-Aid right there.
Wow.
I had an owner, like owners, we tell ourselves these stories all the time, right? And so one owner, well, they need to be on the leadership team. I'm like, do they? One of my first clients I ever worked with, I found this one out. These two guys start this business together. They grow it. It's doing phenomenally well. So they bring me in to help them implement EOS. And the one guy's clearly a visionary leader, and the other guy's like, well, I'm the integrator. I'm like, okay. And off we go. And so we get a few sessions in. We're at a quarterly meeting, and I got a check-in call with the integrator previous to the meeting. He gives me an update. Hey, we hired a new sales and marketing manager, brought him up from the States. Like, so cross-border hire. This is a big deal. Move the family, big deal. And he says, and this role is killing me. I can't sleep at night. I'm getting ulcers. I actually hate managing people. And I'm like, dude, why are you the integrator? He's like, well, I don't know. I'm like an owner. Like, I should be on the leadership team. I'm like, nah, what if I gave you permission? You don't have to be. He's like, really? And I'm like, well, what do you really want to do? What do you love to do? He's like, dude, I love being belly to belly with clients, just solving problems. I'm like, well, why don't you go do that? And he's like, but I'm an owner. And I'm like, and? And he's like, huh, I never considered that, And so we get it. I'm like, so he's like, well, where do we go from here? I'm like, you got to bring it up in the session tomorrow. He's like, okay. So he starts out the meeting by telling everybody he's stepping down. Well, the poor sales guy, first day in the company is this meeting. Just moved here fresh from the States. And he's like, how are you feeling with this news? He's like, well, my boss just quit. This is terrible. He says, but I'm conflicted because I just acquired the best sales guy in the company, so I don't know how to feel about this. And so he was really unsettled at the time. But fast forward, they went from 30 to $90 million in the next 3 years.
Wow.
And
Wow.
and that guy, guess what? His family got him back because his wife and his kids and his friends and everyone around him was all feeling that pain of him faking his way through this role. It was extracting a significant toll of pain on him.
And his health probably improved and everything, right?
100%, right? Like, why wouldn't it? Like, these backpacks that we're carrying, and we sometimes don't know how much weight's in the backpack because it just got slowly added. This one was a big, heavy weight added all at once. And he thought, well, I have to do this to serve the company. And I'm like, do you? I don't think so. And if it's killing you, I don't think that's going to benefit it. That's not the type of servant leader we need to be here. That's taking this too far. And so they found out another path, and it worked very well.
Nice.
But that took a lot of courage to have that, to make that, to tell me, right? Like, Chris, this is killing me. What do I do? That was the reality of the situation, right? All progress starts with the truth. There it was. The truth was, maybe I'm not cut out for this role.
Yeah. Yeah. Having the courage to step up and say that is one thing. Having the courage to tell somebody else, I don't think this is the right place for you.
Yeah, sometimes we got to tell other people that, and that's hard to tell. But I think if we come from a good place, how's this working for you? Well, not great.
Yeah.
Huh. Why do you think that is, And help them unpack that.
Yeah.
Peel that onion a little bit to get to the truth of the matter.
Yeah. So, leadership, what do you look for in a leader?
Beyond what I said? I think there's a good balance of humility and confidence. Like, we can't be humble to the point where we never know an answer because, oh, you're all smarter than me. Well, that doesn't help us.
Right.
But we also can't be so arrogant that we aren't willing to listen to anybody or learn from anybody. I think that element of servitude, of like making the decisions of doing what's right and having courage to make calls and look at things that might not be considered. I think the best leaders that I work with are selfish at times, in that they carve out and do the work on themselves to help themselves. And that takes time and effort to prioritize that in the calendar. And then I think just genuinely caring about people, and whether that be our teammates and the customers and the vendors, of like, I was overly competitive as a young person, and I'm much better now. That competitive nature got me in a lot of trouble because win-wins are possible, right? Like, it seems so silly to say that now, but it was so true. I'm like, well, I got to win and someone else got to lose. I'm like, no, that's a bad way to run a business, in my opinion. And so I look for leaders that are looking for the multifaceted win, that's creative and outside the box, that because I'm not redlining every moment, I had a moment to step away, and in the moment of clarity, and I'm reading a fiction book, and this crazy idea came up, but what are we going to do this and this and tie this together? And maybe that could help us where we need to go. Because the big picture is actually this, right? And so that, that taking that time to think and gain clarity.
Nice. Love it. Yeah, clarity and alignment. So, Chris, this has been awesome. Really appreciate your time. If people want to learn more about you, if they want to learn more about the work you do with EOS,
Yeah.
they want to find your book, where can they do that? Do you have a website?
RelentlessChrisJones.com is kind of the pinnacle to all of it. And so there's links to my EOS site in there. There's links to my book. It's on Amazon in Canada and the US. And apparently people have gotten it in Australia and New Zealand. So there's ways to get it. But yeah, Amazon is the place to get the book. And my RelentlessChrisJones.com is there. And I'm most active on LinkedIn. So
perfect.
LinkedIn.com Chris Jones YYC or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, I will pull all those. Yeah, I'll put all those links down in the show notes so everybody can do that and follow you and connect with you there. Perfect.
Yeah, please.
Chris, this has been fun. It's been a lot of fun. I really appreciate this.
Great questions. Thank you for guiding the conversation.
Yeah, no worries. No. Listeners, hope you guys were taking a lot of notes. A lot of good information here. If you don't know about EOS and the books Traction, and Gino Wickman has put together a great tool to help businesses. Definitely read them and start putting those together if you need help. Chris is always out there, and other EOS implementers around the area can help you with that.
Yeah.
Definitely. So share this episode with your family, friends, colleagues, and stick around because there's always more coming. That's it for me, Coach Harlan saying so long for now.